Good afternoon. I'm Akshaya Srinivasan. I'm 17 years old and I have been a part of MDA for more than 3 years and I've had a very good experience with them. Also, I've seen a lot of improvement in myself, in my studies, and it has been really wonderful for me. And I also took part in the Dyslexia Week for them, and I did a dance. Me and my team put up a dance together, and we performed it for them for making the awareness.
Hi, Juhi. I'm 22 years old. I'm currently pursuing my special education with SNDD in learning disability. Before this, I did my undergraduation with Xavier's. I came across MD when I signed up for a course, a foundation course with them. And I really am glad to be a part of this interview and this event.
I would like to start with asking you a few questions. So the first is that, was it difficult for you to settle down in your college life?
So I think adjusting to college life was a little difficult at first, but I think I won a major battle just because I started accepting my disability and dyslexia. And over the years, I had figured out my strengths and weaknesses, but it's not as easy as it sounds. So there were days when I felt like, everything is coming together, but then like 10 minutes later everything would fall apart and I would go into this negative spiral of thoughts. Um and I clearly remember this during my junior year 11th grade. I was standing in the line to get like a picture clicked for my ID card, and one of these girls who I did not know at all, she came up to me and she asked me how much did I get in my boards. And I just stated how much I got, and she went on to ask me, "But how did you get admission in Xavier since the cutoff is so high?" Um, and that's the first time I think I actually, very boldly, I said it was because I have SLD and there is a disability quota that I got through. This was a major win for me because I realized at that point of time that like it is so important to accept your disability first, and not be embarrassed of sorts of about it. So definitely 11th was a complete change because it's a new environment. You're meeting new people. You have to make new friends. The classroom environment is very different as compared to what it was in school. uh, so my subjects in 11th grade were psychology, sociology, history, economics, English, and IT. So I had textbooks and notes provided to me for all the subjects, which made it easier for me because I like structure, and it makes it easier to just underline notes during class and things like that. And I think eventually, even though 11th grade was a bit of a struggle, by 12th, I think because I had a good peer group and, a good set of friends, they were really supportive. So even on days when I thought, it's really embarrassing to ask them a very simple doubt, like say, for example, I didn't understand a concept or I didn't understand an assignment that was given to us. Like I used to be very hesitant because I used to be like, everyone around me is getting it, but why aren't I? And I used to be like, if I ask them, are they going to like make fun of me? Like, is it going to be like an embarrassment? But honestly, that wasn't the case because when you ask them, you realize that even they are finding it difficult. So because we know that we've been like, there is this thing at the back of my mind that, I have SLD and I have been diagnosed. But that's not the case because even individuals who are neurotypical are facing the same challenges like us, but we keep on blaming our SLD for it, right? Which shouldn't be the case. And so that was about junior college. And I think I continued in Xavier's for my BA, where I had psychology, anthropology, and sociology. Now the issue came up with when it was sociology and anthro because they don't give you notes. There is no textbook to follow. It's just research articles on research articles, and there are discussions happening in class. So again, the structure was gone. Okay, the structure that I was really, that I really wanted was gone, and it took me time to readjust to this environment. And I think questions in sociology and anthropology were like, apply this concept to this, or what are your views about this? Where I struggled because I did not know how to apply concepts to real life or bring in real life experiences, which was like I think one of the major challenges during the first 2 years. But what I realized is that if I don't, I don't stand up, like, I don't ask questions, nobody is going to help me out. And I'm just constantly going to like feel bad about myself and be like, I can't do this, I can't do this. And it's not going to benefit me or anybody else. So I started asking. So before I used to get an assignment, I used to run it by my professors who were very, very approachable. And I think I was really, I'm so glad that I had professors like that. Or I used to just go to my peers and be like, hey, I didn't get this. So that helped me, and that I think started boosting my confidence because I also got reassurance that I was on the right path and I was thinking right, but I just was doubting myself. Now, this also extended beyond where it helped me even, talk in class, and share my experiences because I then slowly and steadily stopped doubting my answers. And I did not like, think about like, if they judge me, they judge me. That's okay. And everybody goes through that, like I said. So while I studied for my exams, I think I used a lot of like mind maps and mnemonics when it came to psychology because there were a lot of pointers, a lot of like, different concepts to remember. So I think mind maps are just like using different colors, highlighting, helped me a lot. And also, I realized when I used to hand write my notes and underline with different colors during my exam, I used to remember on what page, like, what I had, like what word I had. So, handwriting my notes helped me because, like, I had a visual memory during my exam. So I think understanding and finding your strengths, it is a process and it took me years to like, understand my strengths, but then using it to your advantage is very, very important. And despite all this, despite using all these strategies, of course, there were days when I did not succeed. Of course, there were days that the negative spiral thoughts that came back into my mind. But I think it's always important to remember, like, just accept yourself, accept your disability, and always remember that the neurotypicals are also going through the same thing that you're going through, and stop blaming like your disability for it. So here, I think I would like to quote Jamie Oliver, who also has dyslexia, and he said a really nice thing in this interview. So, in his words, I genuinely think that when someone says to you, Johnny's got dyslexia, you should get down on your knees, shake the child's hand, and say, well done, lucky, lucky boy. And it perfectly summarizes that, we have like a different, way of thinking, a different way of doing things, and that's completely okay. And it's a superpower, in fact, if you figure yourself out. So I think it is the transition is tough, but I think you get there, and like, it as long as you have a supportive peer group and like supportive parents and teachers, you are going to be okay. So I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much. And the point that you said that reaching out to people, it's so much easier because even I've gone through the same thing. And
Yeah.
not reaching out is so difficult because once you reach out to someone and ask questions, it's so easier for you to get an answer. And
Yeah.
rather than being lost at one point and not knowing what's around. So I think that's a very good point that you said, and that brings up a lot of courage in yourself. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next question is, was school life easier or the college life easier?
Okay, so I think, like I mentioned, in school, I had not really accepted my disability, or in fact, I did not even know what I had, what was SLD, and what was happening to me was the question that keep coming to my mind. And I think, which was one of the reasons why I struggled in school more. So it was around 13 when I got diagnosed. And at 13, your peers, your classmates, I don't think they're very mature or like, I think nobody knows about SLD at that point of time. So it got really difficult because they used to make statements or do things that used to affect me without them realizing. And it left like a really great impact on me. But I think that is why school was really tough. So I used to hear statements like, she's getting extra time. Of course, she can do better in a paper. She's getting to use a calculator. Of course, she's going to like ace her maths exam. And this was even till my 10th grade, until my boards, I heard these statements. But, it affects you internally, and sometimes it's very tough to let go. I think until 10th grade, it used to keep stabbing me at the back. But you know, this reminds me of like another incident during my speech and drama class, right? So it was, I think, fifth, sixth grade. It was around the time when I got diagnosed. We had to remember like an entire poem, and all of us in class had to say one line each of the poem. So when it came to me, I could state like the first half of my line. But when I got to the second half, I was completely blank. Because for me, like remembering a poem, like word to word, wasn't my thing. And then the professor just kept saying, the next word is a conjunction. It's a conjunction. It's a conjunction. And I was like, what is a conjunction? Like, because I got so blank, I was so stressed. It's all in front of my classmates. I'm all, like sitting on the second bench. And it got so frustrating for me, right? And I was in tears. And she just kept saying conjunction, conjunction. And that word kept like, it was constantly in my head. But I was like, what is a conjunction? And I think after that, I did not want to go for my speech and drama class ever. Like the day I had speech and drama in school, I was like, I don't want to go to school. But there was this day when I just broke down and I told my parents that this is what had happened. They got in touch with my class teacher. And because they were so supportive, I think I got over that trauma and I got over all of that. And that's not always, I think I was lucky again during at that point of time, because it can leave like a grave impact on a person. Um, so I think, of course, so therefore school wasn't very, was tough for me. Uh, and like I think all I want to say is that parents who have children with dyslexia or students who have dyslexia and SLD, I think do not blame yourself for it. It is a superpower, like I mentioned, and use it to your advantage. You look at the world differently, you have a different perspective, and let people say what they want to say. I know for me right now it's easy for me to say this, but I think you need to constantly tell yourself that right from the minute you have been diagnosed, because it's going to help you eventually. And there are days still today where I have breakdowns and I'm like, I can't do this, and I blame my SLD for it. It's not an easy process, and it takes time. But I have seen the growth in myself, and I hope that whoever there is listening to this interview, and you and everyone, that I feel like accept it because even neurotypicals are going through the same problems that you are, and you're not like different, like in terms of your capabilities. I think you have more capabilities than anyone else. So again here, uh, I think I would like to end again with a quote. I think this is something that I just heard about a week ago. And it states that dyslexia is not a pigeonhole to say that you can't do anything. It is an opportunity and a possibility to learn differently. You have magical brains, they just process differently. Don't feel like you shouldn't be held back. All the accommodations, all the modifications, and all the concessions that you get, take it, because it's something that you require. And it's okay to require help. And I think that's about it. Like,
Thank you so much. So I would just like to say one point on this, that as you mentioned that when you had to say a poem in class and you froze. So I hope you have seen Kapil Sharma show over there. There's a doctor, Dr. Mashur Gulati.
Yeah, yeah,
So in one episode he says that मैं डॉक्टर हूँ, मुझे कुछ नहीं आता पर मैं फिर भी कर रहा हूँ. So it's there's a lot of courage for him to say this on national TV. Of course he's an actor, but that pulls out, it's so strong. And my dad was like, you need to be fearless. You don't need to care if people are judging you on what you are. You just need to come up with your thoughts. And I think that's a very good
yeah,
way.
yeah. I think that's a great example. Like, just be fearless, be who you are, and everyone's going through the same issues, and so are you. It's going to
Yeah.
all be okay. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Juhi, for being with us today. I think we had a really good talk, and we got a lot. We got to know a lot about you, and I think you have struggled a lot in your life, but you have overcome it, and that's the best part about it. And your information, your experiences gave a lot of awareness. Maybe it will show to a lot of people. It will encourage them to be fearless, to be a better person in life, to not judge them by who they are. So I think this, I really enjoyed talking to you about this, and I would love to see you again.
Thank you so much for having me. And I am really hoping that everyone out there, changes just a little bit and accepts who they like, accepts their disability, and others around them also start accepting them as who they are. So thank you so much for having me.